When do I take the cover off of my seedlings? This is not that time. This is when they're just kind of peeking up. These are my peppers. They're just starting to peek up. I'm not taking the covers off of them yet. And at this point, we want to have the light between 4 and 6 inches above the surface of the plant. And since the plants are right at soil level, I'm not going to have it any higher than what it is right now. But once they've come up and gotten their second set of leaves, that is their first set. I'll zoom out a little bit. Right here is the second set. Once they've got that second set of leaves, you can move them into a bigger pot. I put them down pretty close. Sometimes I'll actually bury this set of leaves. Like in the case of this one, it's kind of buried. Most of these still have their second set of leaves showing. But this is when I will transplant them. But that's also when you can take the cover off of them. So once they've got that second set of leaves. And in the case of things like these cucumbers, you know, when they start sprouting up in here, you know, you can move them. You can remove the plant cover. Same things with these eggplant. You can see that they've got some secondary leaves going on. But at that point, you can also raise the light. Again, 4 to 6 inches above the surface of the plant. And that's where I've got it for all of these plants. The reason that you're going to do that is to avoid having your plants become what they call leggy. Now some of these are a little bit leggy because I kind of neglected them a little bit. They got a little bit too tall. I'm going to need to repot some of these, and what I'll do with them is I'll bury them like this one here. I'll go down to where those leaves are and bury the plant right up to those leaves. What'll happen then is it will put on roots beneath the soil surface on all of that extra stem. It'll start sprouting roots, and that'll give it an extra stability in its root base. It'll make it a stronger plant, and you'll stop having that leggy tipping over kind of thing. These here I just repotted yesterday or the day before. Yeah, it was yesterday. And you know, they were a little bit shocked at first. They're starting to kind of perk back up again. They've recovered from the transplanting, but some of them were getting a little leggy, and I buried them pretty good. So now they'll develop that root base. These down here, same thing. They were starting to get leggy, and so I just repotted them. People think that you need to be so terribly, terribly gentle with seedlings, and you really don't. I'm not. And yeah, they'll have a little bit of a shock at first, but they come back pretty strong. I don't want my plants to be too fragile that they can't recover from things like a storm, a heavy wind. I want them to have learned how to do that. And yes, plants do learn. You teach them. So, if your plants are at this point, right here, where they're getting that second set of leaves on, go ahead and repot them. You can take the cover off sooner than when they have that second set. When they seem like they're reaching up pretty good and they're starting to brush the surface of that cover, you can go ahead and remove it. I do, but you don't have to. But at this point, when they're starting to get that second set on, that's when it really needs to come off, and you need to start watching for signs that they need to be repotted. It's, you know, we're all well into March. If you can see outside, you can see we've got snow on the ground, so these plants are not destined to be outside anytime soon. So yes, they will need to be repotted at least one more time, the ones that are in the smaller pots. The ones in the bigger pots should be okay. I also try to look for the ones that are doing the best, because I'm not going to need this many tomato plants by far. I'll give a bunch away, but I'm going to be looking for the strong ones to put out in my garden. And that's what you're going to want to do. And I'm going to show you, and see, here's my sweet potatoes, some of them. I'm going to show you where the remaining are at right now and where these kind of came from. And what you're going to see, I'm trying to get a little bit of light on here so you can see. Now they start out as a sweet potato. You just use toothpicks to hold it up above the water. You just want like a bottom fourth or so that is in water. This needs more water because I try to keep it filled up, but it drinks up the water pretty fast. And then what it'll do is it'll start to grow roots, and then it'll start putting on what's called slips. And when your slips, this one's really big. This one's overdue to be moved. But when they get about that long, about anywhere from 4 inches above, this one's probably more like 6. You're going to want to snap it off, which I'll do right now with this one. You just come down to the base, snap it off. Ta-da. And then you're just going to put it in water. And again, these drink up the water pretty fast, so I'm going to refill this. These have been in here for a little while, and you can see that they've grown roots off of those slips. That slip that I just snapped off will do the same. Once they get roots on them, a fairly good set of roots on them, I'll pull one out that looks like this one. That's when it's ready to go in the soil. You can see the roots are pretty far up the stem. They're pretty well established, and they've got little tiny root shoots off the bottom. That one is ready to go into some soil. And from there, it will grow sweet potatoes. At this point, it'll just keep growing stem. And some people plant them, they just want to grow them as a plant, and that's fine too. I'm not going to need all these, so I don't know what I'm going to do with those. And this is ready to just, I hate to throw something away that's looking so pretty, but at some point I'm going to have to stop growing slips. I've got this one here. It looks pretty sickly, but it's a different variety of sweet potato from the other one. The other ones are red garnet. I can't remember what this one is, but it has really pretty purple leaves. I'm going to go ahead and keep getting slips off of this as long as I can, because I want to have more than one variety. And at this point, most of the ones I have planted in there are from the red garnet. As you can see, I've got another one over there. It's probably time to decide what I'm doing with this project. So this little guy is going to go into some soil. I might combine him with one of the other ones that's in a bigger pot, like maybe in with this one. I don't know. Or maybe I'll go ahead and put it in with that one. I don't know. I'll think about it. But yeah, it's ready to get put into some soil. It will end up like these. And once the weather changes a little bit, probably in the next 2 weeks, these are all going to go into 5-gallon buckets with soil that will, I'm going to put the plant as far down in the bucket as I can, and I'll do a video about it. And then I will cover this plant and leave just maybe just a little bit of the top leaves exposed. And then as it grows, I'll keep adding soil on top and soil on top with just a little bit exposed. And what that'll do is it'll grow roots all along those stems, and that's where your potatoes are going to come from. So the more you do that, the more potatoes you will get. But that's where my garden project stands now. March 21st, St. Patrick's weekend. We have snow. I got everything in time before the snow hit. And now I'm just working inside on the things I can do inside, which is working with the seedlings, getting things repotted, watching the lighting, keeping them watered, and just waiting for April when we'll move into the next phase, which is when I'm going to be putting the potatoes and the sweet potatoes. I've got potatoes on order from Gurney Seed Company. They've got seed potatoes that are coming. And I'm going to get all of those put into the buckets, get that all set up. So for now, that's the March What You Can Do in Your Garden video. If you have any questions or comments, shoot them down below. If you have any requests for videos, let me know. I'm happy to make a video about whatever you want. But the next garden video is probably going to be more focused on April and what I'm going to be doing then. So, happy St. Patrick's Day. Got a little bit of soil in the bottom. In goes my sweet potato. I'm going to put that down in there all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to start building the soil around the roots. I'm going to get that watered in, and it's going to join all of its little friends over here. I use just plain old all-purpose potting soil. Doesn't matter which brand you get. I didn't look for brand, I just looked for all-purpose potting soil. And works great for me, as you can see.